say the good in you, fusing heart to heart, reach only the good in you.
Good afternoon to some, good morning to others. Welcome to I Am the Western Woman show today. Here once again, I'm so excited to be live in LA with Ryan on all of the technical things with me here today. Surprise, surprise, another sunny day in LA. And I've been on a bit of a adventure back and forth between this city of angels and San Diego and all over the place. I'm still missing my sidekick Elaine Zappatelli, so shout out to Elaine back home in Canada, and looking forward to being on air with her again soon when I get back that way. We have... I'm going to get right into it. I don't have Elaine to banter with and, with all of her inappropriate remarks. So today we're going to get into things with a amazing individual who's in studio today. Those of you who are listening for the first time, this I Am the Western Woman has taken me to so many different places. And one of them was in March to the Beverly Wilshire Hotel for a fundraiser. And it's for an organization called the Unstoppable Foundation. And I walked in, just as I do, I kind of follow all the little signs and all the magic. Callie Rawson, who was my guest last week, and I talked about this because I also met her there. And I just started to run into people who embody what this I Am the Western Woman is all about. People who show up, turned on, stepping up in the world, expressing what I like to refer to as their own individual oomph. And in putting that out there, essentially calling in all the other people who are doing that, and we start to recognize each other. So today, a gentleman who I met at the Unstoppable Foundation fundraiser, and I just found out this morning, or when I arrived here, that he is also a fellow Canadian. So we're taking over LA a little bit here. Sharif Aziz, among many other things, is the founding member of the Association of Transformational Leaders. He's traveled the world, really bringing transformation to the forefront. And what I want to talk about today is all of his endeavors, but especially one that is called Discover the Gift, which is a book and also a movie. And I am just going to let him take the ball and run with it on this. Thank you so much for being here today, Sharif.
You're so welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Again, it was just, Kylie and I talked last week about how it all played out when I walked into this fundraiser, and this morning I was talking to actually one of the producers here about the number 3 and how it keeps showing up, 3 and 33 and 333. And remember, we had those cards with numbers when we were at the Unstoppable Foundation, and Callie's was 333. And when I arrived there and I walked up to get a glass of wine, I saw it sitting on the table. And we talked about this because then she introduced me to you. And she showed me that number when she came over. And I just knew I was in the right place. And there you were.
Yeah, that was a great event.
Fantastic. Yeah. A coming together of many people that are like-minded and like-hearted even more.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's an event made by Cynthia Kersey, and she's part of the ATL as well. And so, it's a group of people that were committed to change the world to a better place.
One of the things that one of my yoga teachers, who is actually here in LA, one of the things that she spoke about during my Kundalini teacher training was that yoga and a lot of these practices that we utilize, and it's different for everyone. I have a friend who his practice on a daily basis is surfing. We all have different ways of how we show up in the world and what feeds that. And what she talked about is that the practices are about self-acceptance as opposed to self-transformation. And I think there's an interesting way of seeing deciding what that really means, because when we accept who we truly are, then what we notice is that things in our life do transform. But maybe it's just because we show up fully as who we are.
Yeah, and actually that's a beautiful transition to discover the gift. Because one of our first chapter in Discover the Gift is receptivity. So what does that mean? That actually means that you're receptive to things that are coming. So you're open to them. So you're receptive to your true self. So, and I agree with that. And it's how do we deal with the mental blocks that we've had, the things that we thought were the way we're supposed to be, the things that
The shoulds.
yeah, the shoulds, the teachings from from other people that at the time work, but perhaps later in life you find out that they really don't work. Just as a child learns something when they're young, whatever that is, might not actually be conducive to them as they grow older because they have more experiences. They can look at things different ways.
No longer serving.
Exactly.
And in those cases, sometimes we actually have to unlearn things, which is almost a more difficult process than learning because you have to unwind.
Exactly, and that's why you have to be receptive. You have to be receptive to the things that are coming and be aware of your natural blocks that come up. So once you do that, you kind of stop your own chatter from blocking you from being a more positive and person that's actually evolving in your humanity in your life.
Again, one of the things that I've talked about with other guests on the show is the way you show up in the world and in airports and grocery stores and when you look around and you just see a lot of people in the day-to-day drudgery. They're just going through the motions, and it's the same thing every day. Get up, eggs and bacon and coffee, get on the road, traffic, spend the day in your cubicle, maybe get out and actually walk for a few minutes at lunchtime, or maybe not even take a lunch. Do it again all afternoon, keeping yourself awake with coffee, drive home, worn out because you've mentally exhausted yourself all day. Hit the grocery store, pick up what's fast and easy and prepackaged, and then go home and put on the TV and crack open a beer and do it all again the next day. That's not exactly thriving.
No, it's not. That actually just, I got a hit from something that my dad told me when I was really young. We were walking down the street. We were in Casablanca, Morocco, and walking down the street, and my dad said, look at all the people. And I started looking, and he said, now look, how many people are smiling? And there weren't a lot of people smiling. And one of the things that he kept telling me is, smile, it's free, right? And so he said, isn't that a comedy? Isn't that funny that actually people are so caught up in themselves that they're not enjoying and smiling just walking down the street, looking at other people and seeing what's around them. So it's funny because that reminds me of that.
There was one night I was driving with my son, and I have a little Beetlebug convertible, and I love it. I just love it. And we were driving one time at night, and it was kind of chilly out, so I had the windows up but the top down, and it was a full moon, and I was just driving, and I was just thinking, and this happens to me when I drive for some reason. I don't know, just really present. I was just thinking about how amazing my life is and how joyful it is and how happy. I'm so blessed to be so happy. And so I was driving and I was smiling, and he goes, Mom, you're driving and smiling. And I was like, yeah. And so then he mimicked me. And he was like, doing this little mimic of me driving and smiling. And I was like, but I made you smile, right? And just somehow it's weird to be too joyful in our world, right? If you show up and you're just kind of out there and joyful, people are like, what's up with you? What do you want?
It's weird to some people.
It's true. Not to you and I or Ryan, but out in the world at large,
Right.
It seems to be okay for kids. But as you grow up, you have to become somehow more serious and
Yeah, well, one of the things that I like to say, I'm not sure if I'm the first person to say that or not, but Shakespeare has always said that life's a stage, and we're all actors on the stage. Now, what I like to say is, why not make it a comedy?
Oh, yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
who needs a horror film?
No,
when you can have a comedy.
exactly. So, and the other big point about the smiling is, just the act of smiling releases endorphins, and psychologically it actually helps, and it alleviates the mood. Just the act of smiling. So, I think that's actually really important to do.
I just posted something. It's so funny that you say that. I posted something on my Facebook page just the other day, and I said it's this little picture, and it says, "Your day will go the way the corners of your mouth turn."
Exactly.
Yeah. So if the corners of your mouth turn up, thumbs up, good day.
Exactly.
Corners of your mouth turn down,
Yeah. Exactly.
What are you calling in?
Exactly. So yeah, but to get into Discover the Gift a little bit, it's a project that was done with our family. So my brother-in-law, Damien Lichtenstein, was the director and producer. My wife is also an executive producer, and she's the author of the book. And I helped with the producing and kind of helping put everything together.
Now, okay, we'll get into what it's all about. What was the inspiration behind this? Was there a catalyst, a moment, something that maybe the three of you combined, or one or the other of you, like, sort of triggered something in the other one that brought this really to, materialization, showed up?
Yeah, it actually started before Cheyenne and I got into the picture. It started with Damien, and he was part of a cruise that was done by Michael and Sidney Cressy. And what they did is they brought some high-level thinkers, spiritual people that wanted to give back to the community, and then they did a cruise and helped other people kind of feel and get the experience of being around these people. So they would have talks, on how to better yourself, how to interact with the world and all of that. And my understanding is through that, this group of people wanted to bring that and share that with the world on a larger base. Now, Damien is a filmmaker, so, it was natural for him to be like, hey, let's make a movie about this. And, movies these days are, a media that can really get to a lot of people.
True.
So that was that's how it started. It actually started from a group of people that were supporting each other in having better lives, better communication, and this group of people really wanted to share this with the world. So that was the concept, the initial force behind that. Then Cheyenne and I joined a little bit later. It was still, we're still filming and all of that. And then we had these amazing people that we talked to and interviewed, and we wanted to go ahead and not just have people talk about just their experience, but we wanted to have a through line. We wanted to make it personal. The best that is story, right? So you share your experiences, and then that opens other people to the listening. So that's the story then that came through, was about Damien and Cheyenne, and how they were brother and sister that really didn't have a good relationship growing up due to some factors that happened to them and their relationships. They lost their mother at a young age, which really affected them as children. So there was a breakdown in that relationship, a major breakdown, and they didn't talk for years. And then it's it ended up being, how do you go from having a breakdown to kind of reconnecting? And what are the things that you need to do to reconnect? And like I was saying earlier, one of the first thing that you need to do is be receptive. Now, what does that mean? That means being receptive to another person's point of view, another person's thoughts. That means that you're not so much in your head, where you're just present and listening.
Being an allowance of a different perspective, whether you agree with it or not, right?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
and also being an allowance of how you feel with it without going into a reactionary state.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. And that's the whole thing, is you realize that feelings are feelings.
Yeah.
You know, we're not all the Buddha. You know,
No.
we all have feelings, but what we can do is we can control our chatter in our brains, and we can control the negative thoughts that come.
Definitely.
And you can accept it and then release it. Say, you know, that's a negative thought. That's something that is not conducive to me.
I have this little metaphor. I have little metaphors for everything. And one of my metaphors for this kind of thing is, I had a friend one time who said to me, you know, how do you handle, like, all when in big groups at workshops or something, how do you handle all of the energy and all of everything going on? And I said, you know, I think of myself as like a spaghetti strainer. So if it's something that, you know, is not for me, like, it just goes through me, right? But if you get, and you know, you maybe get a little fusilli in there, and sometimes you just get enough to eat, and sometimes you get too much, right? And then it gets sticky and stuck in there, you know? But if you just let it all just kind of float through you, and even the ones that get kind of sticky and stuck, you can just be like, oh, wow, I'm full. You know, I don't need that, but you don't have to get all like, oh my God,
right.
You know, we're, you know, there's too much pasta here. That you know, you can just have a look at it. And also, I'm all about humor. And so to just be amused by the things that your brain, your mind, you know, wants to have you say or do, where you can just be like, wow.
Absolutely.
That would have been interesting if I had said what came to my mind first of all.
Right.
You know?
But
and sometimes you do.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that, you know, it'd be great if everybody had that consciousness, and that they were able to step back and just look at themselves.
Right.
But, you know.
I'm the most amusing person in my life. I amuse me constantly because of those moments when, you know, again, whether it's moments when I'm driving in the car and I'm just in a place of peace or joy, or those moments when I realize I'm going into this place of monkey mind, and then I'm like, oh God, Joss, you're insane. Right here, right now, in this moment, you're just insane. Crazy lady.
Yeah.
You know, how much fun is that for you? And then you can just laugh at yourself and be like, okay, next.
Exactly. I mean, isn't it great when you're driving down the highway and you look around and you see somebody just driving their car by themselves, just jamming?
Yes. Love it.
They're just having
I love
fun,
it.
jamming.
Yeah. Arms
They're singing.
flying.
Yeah, you know. And you're like, wow, that is really cool. I love that. And then my smile just gets bigger. So
I was at an event this past weekend, and Reverend Michael Beckwith and his wife Ricky Byers Beckwith were there, and I just love them. And so Ricky got up and she was singing, and Michael got up and he was talking to us, and so afterwards I just went up to Ricky and I just said, you know, I love the way, and she's just so funny. She's just like this big, it sounds terrible, but it's like I see her with her mouth, big, wide open mouth, just laughing, just singing, and everything that comes out is just so joyful. And I said, you know, when I play your CD in my car and I sing along, I sound just like you. I just sound exactly like you, and in my head I do. You know?
Great.
And so I'm just singing along, surrender my soul, and here I am, Ricky Beebe. It's my own personal impression.
That's awesome.
You know, and I don't care. I don't care who sees me. I don't care what anybody thinks.
No.
I don't even care if they hear me.
Absolutely. And
As long as they don't tell me that I don't sound like Ricky Beebe.
You sound just like Rikki
I
Levy.
sound just like her. And whoever I happen to be singing along to, sometimes I sound like Bono,
Absolutely.
So it's really, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think that when we are in a place of being able to receive everything and being out of judgment of it, that it really allows us to discover that which we are here to bring, because then we're no longer going, oh, I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that, or who am I? Who am I to show up and think that I have something to contribute? You can step fully out of judgment of everyone, including yourself.
Right. And it's just to be able to, when you're not receiving and you're not open, you're not really looking at all the realities that are there. So, you're actually blocking the realities and really trying to infuse your own thought of what should be real onto something.
Should all over yourself.
Yeah, you should all over yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're in a pile of shoulds.
You're in a pile of should. Big stinking pile of should.
So yeah, and but the other key point that we also stress is your intention. So you have to have positive intentions. And we do live in a negative world. I used to be a news junkie.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to be a news junkie, and now I couldn't really tell you what's going on that
I know.
much.
I always
a little bit
figure-
here and there. It's nice to know, but
If the world's going to end, I know my mother will let me know. That's what I always figure. My mom, she's up on it all, and so I'll get a call or a text or something from my mom.
Yeah.
Prepare. The world's
Exactly.
about to end.
Exactly. Get the water. So the intention is part, and that's that's the chapter 2 of our book. What we try to do
So
in
receiving
receiving
and then intention.
receptivity, intention.
Okay.
But what we try to do really with this is to provide a roadmap for people that is easily accessible.
For seekers.
Exactly. And also, this was written by Cheyenne, who's been a master educator and a teacher and a principal and been in the school education platform for over 20 years. So it wasn't, so there was a lot of thought put into the structure and how to deliver this in such a way that people can not only read it and get something, but it almost becomes every page you have a teachable moment in there. And she did a great job by doing that. You can literally open any page and you'll find a nugget in it and discover the gifts.
That's so great.
So
you're constantly discovering gifts.
You're constantly
Every page.
discovering gifts. And the great thing that we say, one of the things is, we have the documentary as well as the book. The documentary is an emotional ride. It's a way that a story should be told.
So is it, does it play along the same, with the same components as the book in the same order?
Yes, they complement each other.
Okay.
They complement each other. The documentary is, I believe, 97 minutes. So, there's just so much that you can put into 97 minutes. Okay, but it's visually pleasing. It's an emotional ride. We give some great nuggets from some great teachers from all around the world, and. We like to think that the documentary blasts your heart open. So that's what it does. We did all the score by Carlos Alvarez, which is our composer, and he did a fantastic job, worked with other people. So not only the visuals and the music and the beautiful words and, expressions from spiritual teachers and just, our great human beings around. And that kind of just gives you an emotional ride. And then also you have the story of Cheyenne and Damien.
Oh, okay.
That is a through story throughout it. So it's something that is accessible.
Well, I was just going to say, most people have something that they could relate that to in their lives. What,
Exactly.
whether it was between siblings or other family members, or somebody who was important in their life, that they had this kind of maybe a confrontational kind of relationship, or a rocky sort of relationship, and then how you go through.
Right. Everybody's had a
Yeah.
relationship breakdown.
Yeah.
What people are kind of, I'm not sure if they're scared or they don't know how to go ahead and rebuild that relationship. How to be receptive to other things that you have blocked before that were not able to come through. So everybody's gone through a place where, they've had a relationship that is not what they necessarily thought it should be or want. And, especially with family, they're your blood. So how do you repair that? So like I was saying, the first chapter basically is receptivity. And then the other one, this chapter 2, is intention. So like I was saying, positive intentions is a big key. So the book ends up being more of a how-to. The movie ends up being more of an emotional and visual ride.
An experience.
An experience,
Right.
exactly.
Which in my experience, when you offer something up to people in a way that they can actually experience it, if you went on an amusement park ride that didn't give you an experience, you just walk away and be like, what was that, right?
Right.
But when you have an experience that either makes you scream or laugh, or, my kids and I were at Universal Studios, and there's these, they take those pictures just as you're about to go over, and like
Right.
the look on our face, I had no idea my mouth could open that wide to scream. But it was so much fun. And even now, when I think about it, when I look at that picture, I remember the experience, and it makes me laugh so hard, because I remember, like, we literally fell on the floor laughing when we saw these pictures, because we had so much fun on that.
That's fantastic.
But without having an experience to go along with something, I think even in practices, like you can explain yoga or meditation to someone, but until they actually have an experience of it, they're not going to be affected in the same way.
Right, exactly. So we have the receptivity, we have the intention, and then we have the activation, so action.
And I like that you just said that activation, action.
Yeah.
That they are synonymous.
Mm-hmm.
In order to actually activate some sort of, whether you want to call it transformation or acceptance or way of being in your life that is different. There's that whole thing, you do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity.
Right.
So as soon as you make a choice to do something different, then you put action behind it, which creates essentially the activation right then and there.
Right. Well, exactly. The action behind it basically tells the universe that,
I'm on this.
You have integrity, and so that you're actually, going forward with something. So you can't be sitting there and saying, I'm a wonderful person, I want the best for the world and all that, and not do anything.
Right.
Because that's.
But someone will do it.
Well, yeah, and and
somebody out there will take care of all of this.
And I'll get acknowledged for it without really doing anything.
Right. That's not how it plays.
It's not. You're just staying in your own mind. In that sense, so activation is really important. And the chapter 4, the infinite feedback loop, it goes with the activation.
Infinite feedback loop.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Can you explain that?
Yeah. I like to think of it as karma.
Ah, okay.
So whatever
what goes around comes around.
Yeah, whatever you put into the energy of the universe from your own energy will come back to you.
Okay.
So,
And sometimes it looks a little different than the way you put out. In fact, most times,
yeah.
you know, you can't even begin to imagine what the potential
Right.
of that is.
And so, you know, whatever you put in, you know, so that's why we need to stay positive with our intentions. And then you need to be receptive because the feedback loop sometimes smacks you right in the face and says, hey, you know, come on, get
I
it
call
now.
it the cosmic 2x4 to the head.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And sometimes it's got a nail sticking out of it.
Yeah, not fun.
To make sure, you know.
Nothing
but
like
some-
a little rusty nail embedded in your cranium
No.
to wake you up.
No. And, but, you know, a lot of times it's in the little details and the little things that you'll get that feedback loop.
Definitely. But you have to pay attention, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's why, honestly, Sharif, I tend to not be all that subtle, and which is fun for me, actually. And so I'll say, like, hit me with it like a Mack truck. And let me tell you, that's how it shows up. And in ways, you know, clearly the universe knows what you can handle. You
Absolutely.
know? And if you hide it under this little notepad, or you just, you know, make it too subtle for me, I'm so busy looking at, you know, all of the amazingness of the world, I don't want to miss it. So bring it right here.
Right.
Right here, right in front of my face, so that I don't miss it. And even if it kind of knocks me back a little bit, I'm okay with that. I'm strong. You know, I would rather have it that way and show up so that I can actually just receive it.
Yeah. But
All in one fell swoop.
Right.
Some people, I have another friend. She's like, I want it all gracefully and gently, and you know. And I
Well-
was like, yeah, I like feather brushing on me, but like, I want to be like, whoa, yes.
well, I think I think one of the things is that it can come in either way.
Yeah.
So that when you're open to, you know, the big things are going to hit you. The small things, you know, are kind of like the little secrets of life.
Right.
And so
And that's fun too.
yeah, and that's very fun. And it's also fun how you look at something and then how you look at your mind and how it associates with something else, because that's how we learn as human beings. Whatever we learn, we have to associate and make sense of it.
Right.
So what are you making sense of this? What are you making sense of that? What does that mean to you? Is it for you or against you?
And also, where are you limiting it? Because you come to some sort of judgment or conclusion about it.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
And what else could it be? You know,
Right.
so if it's this little tidbit, I mean, the first time I was in the studio, I was a guest on someone else's show that I happened to meet the day before at the Agape Center. And for me, it was just like, yeah, cool, I'll come be on your show. How much fun will that be? You know, he had me reading one of my poems and things like that. And then I leave here with no expectations whatsoever. And Larry, the executive producer, is like, you're really great. How, you know, would you like to be on our roster and have your own show? Who knew?
That's great. That's exactly. And so, you know, that's part of the infinite feedback loop.
Right. I love
That's
it.
part of what you've put into the world, and then what the world has granted you, because you are open, and because you gave part of yourself truly and with integrity.
That's super cool.
So, you know, so that's part of the feedback.
And I like, you know, infinite feedback loop. It kind of, you know, it sounds like it's some sort of quantum physics speak, you know?
Well, you know, the cool thing is that the infinite feedback loop is the infinity sign.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have it right here, right around my neck.
That's what you have. And so it's you know, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And then the next step is vibration.
Okay.
You know, Dr.
Which is quantum physics.
Right. And Dr. Barbara DeAngelis in the movie says, you know, when you go, anywhere that you go, you show up.
Right.
But who shows up?
yes.
Right.
Which one of the characters on the stage are you playing that day?
Well, what kind of vibration are you giving? Because we're all vibrational beings.
Yeah.
So that's why you get a good feeling or a bad feeling from someone. You know, so who is it that shows up? And are you open? Do you have a positive vibration? Are you there to uplift other people? Are you there to squash the other people so that you can look better? Right? Are you there to control other people so that you feel like you have power? Or are you there to let other people control you because you don't want to step up and
Or somehow
be that
being
way?
a victim is actually feeding something in you.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And there's a lightness and a density to all of that, you know? When you show up very, very light, you know, there's just in that, there's this sense of like floating through the world in a really gentle, easy way,
Right.
you know, joyful.
Right.
And when things are dense, like you said, you know, you're there to squash someone, you know, controlling is grasping. There's a contraction to it that has
Right.
density.
right. You know, it's interesting because lately I've been, you know, just having my own thinking and it's like, you know, I found that for most of my life, I wanted to control the universe. I wanted to control reality. I wanted reality to be what I wanted it to be, right? So that I didn't accept it. I didn't accept the laws of reality because somehow I thought because of who I am more special than the other person, right? And, you know, we all think of ourselves as special, and we should. We are
Absolutely.
special.
Yeah.
We are special.
There's nobody else like you. Be
There isn't.
yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Exactly. But you're not more special than anyone else.
No, not at all.
Right. So, so it all goes with the vibration and what you're bringing to a space, right? Now, after that chapter, we have adversity and transformation. And so that's kind of, you know, goes hand in hand with the first chapter, which is being receptive. So with the adversity, right, we all go through hard times, right? So how can we look at our hard time and learn from it in a positive way? Learn from it like Terry Tillman says, what if this is for me? Right. So what if the hard times is for you?
There's something, a tool that I utilize in this, you know, if I'm going through something and it doesn't feel that good to me, I'll say, because clearly it's happening, that, you know, I can't argue that I'm in the middle of something that's causing me some frustration or anxiety or whatever it might be. So then I'll say, what's right about this that I'm not getting right now?
Right.
What's right about this? How is this contributing to my experience as me showing up in the world? And how can I grow and come to greater acceptance from this adversity?
Exactly. And what we say is, what's the gift in it?
Oh, well, there we go. Discover the gift.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what's the gift in it? Right.
Silver lining to every cloud.
Absolutely.
You know, and none of this is new. That's the thing, right? You know, I have a television show in Canada called New Age to Main Page. And it's really about bringing all the things that people, you know, lots of ancient wisdom, the things that our grandparents used to do and say, things that people thought were woo-woo and out there. Only hippies do it. It's on the fringe, on the edge, you know, left of center, whatever. And bringing it main page, right here, right now. Here's how you can incorporate this into your life. Here's, you know, the scientific evidence that supports this. Here's why it was done for thousands of years before modern technology, quote unquote, came along and made things so much better and so much easier until they break down, you know?
Right.
And to be able to just bring this kind of wisdom that, again, you know, everybody's heard that statement. There's a silver lining in every cloud. There's intention and meaning and receptivity and vibration behind that statement, and it's known by so many people for a reason. It's just in how we choose to actually implement that into our life.
Right. Right. How we.
It's a Buddhist philosophy in a old, you know, wives' tale, basically.
Right. And so out of the adversity, comes transformation.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that is, I believe will always be there, is always there. And so out of something that happened to you that is negative, you can think about that negative thing that happened to you, but then you can also think of what's the positive? What's my lesson that I'm going to get from this that will make me a better human being, that will make me more in line with the real reality, that will unveil my eyes so I can see.
And give you the onus and the courage to step up and show up in the way that you're here to bring it as you, as an individual.
Right.
As part of the collective whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that we say is, for you to not give your gift to the world is like saying the world not to give its gift to you.
Yes. It's reciprocity.
Yes, exactly. And the next step is basically for all of us to work together to create a compassionate world. And so it's wonderful because, we're meeting a lot of like-minded people that we all are, have this inner wanting to just bring positive change to the world around us. Like the event that we met with Cynthia Kersey,
right,
that did some fantastic work in Africa for children. So that's the wonderful thing, is with that vibration and with who you are and the gift that you are, and you're just sharing yourself, you attract people like that as well, because you have activation within it. You're not just sitting in bed, watching TV and saying, no, that's what I want.
And I love, as you said, to be able to open your eyes, and be able to really, really see. And with all of our senses, we were gifted all of these senses to be here in these human bodies for a reason. We're here to utilize them as part of our experience. And even our emotional state, energy in motion. You can allow it to freeze you up and stagnate you, or you can allow it to be, whether it's a motivating force of some description. I really, out of fear, there's tons of motivation. Out of sadness, there's such immense capacity for compassion. Out of anger, there's so much capacity for forgiveness. And a few years ago, I was in Ghana, and my friend who I was staying with took me to the slave dungeons in Cape Coast, right off the coast of the Gulf of Guinea, in Ghana, West Africa. And I was the first Caucasian European ancestry woman that she had ever taken into the woman's slave dungeon. And she took me in there, and she introduced me to the souls that lived in that space. And I remember at the time thinking, when she took me in there, first of all, I felt so honored to be going into this space where so much pain and just anger and horrendous experiences occurred. People, women lived and died and defecated and gave birth and miscarried. It was just insane where these women were housed and treated like animals. And I thought, wow, this is going to be like a super intense experience. And we laid down on the floor, and I was just waiting to see what I felt. And all I felt was this sense of the greatest and most immense compassion. I thought I'd feel sadness and anger and fear. It was compassion and joy and forgiveness in a way that it changed my life. I had never experienced anything like that before, and it put the onus on me and this driving force in me to just ensure that anywhere that I move in the world, that what was the catalyst for that never happens again. never happens again. You know, we can take the pearls out of that oyster and really, you know, build the string, build it, the gift.
Absolutely.
You know, and not have to be sucked down into the misery and that abyss of what happened there, and instead go, what can we bring out of that that's beautiful?
Right. And yeah, you're right. You know, it's amazing because that abyss is what the news runs on.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it's just amazing. And a lot of times, you know, there are some programs out there now that are coming out that are more positive and kind of uplift the humanity and the human compassions and love.
We need a humanity channel. That's what we need.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And so it's important. And so that's the great thing about this. And the last chapter that we have is the ultimate gift, which is love. And so, you know, when you have love, you know, you have it all. So that is the ultimate gift. But through my personal human experience, I've found that there are very different levels of that, right? So, you know, it's easy to say, love thine enemy. It's much harder to actually really do it and feel it emotionally.
Unconditionally.
You can rationalize it. You know? But, you know, how can you love somebody that is, say, torturing you? You know, so there's a lot, you know, the fun thing when you start looking at life without veils and with receptivity and without the need to have your own reality be there, you start looking at different things and start finding little nuggets that you can actually laugh at because they're so silly. And you can actually, you know, just be truly living because, you know, we're here to experience. And so one of the things that I really started working on and have been working on is, you know, would you rather not know the truth that will hurt you? Or would you rather know the truth even though that hurts you? Me personally, I would rather know the truth,
Right.
even though that it hurts me. Because what happens is that then I have a more realistic view of reality.
And not only that, you have a choice to decide whether you're actually going to be hurt by it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And it is a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, on a physical level, you know, I mean, we can all take a page out of Nelson Mandela's book, you know, when you're incarcerated for that long and come out and you still have that heart full of compassion. I mean, it's amazing.
Incredible.
But in our day-to-day adversity, we'll call it with quotation marks, to be able to still show up in a way that is open in allowance, receptivity, high vibration, clear intention, you know, really knowing what you're putting out there into this infinite feedback loop. And you know, if someone says something to you, you know, I mean, someone's like, you know, what you're doing isn't important. You can either, you know, receive that like a bullet to the heart, or you can be like, whoa, that's interesting perspective you have on my life. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what?
And just choose not to be hurt by it.
It's your reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be mine.
No, exactly.
And it's fine. and if it's fine that it's your reality. And that's the whole thing about being receptive to and open, is that you can choose to actually look at life and look at experiences in a different way. And, as human beings, that's one thing that we have that most other animals and beings don't really have, is we have the power of word and the power of experience. And, I've thought about this a while ago, and when I was younger, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I was into, studying different religions and spiritualities, and I came across the Wheel of Life and reincarnation and all of that. And then, I don't know, about 20 years ago or something like that, I was thinking, because my dad's Moroccan, my mother's Greek, and I'm Canadian, married to a Jew. So,
you're in United Nations, right?
That's right.
Your family.
We have a wonderful daughter that's going to be the president of the United Nations one day and do wonderful things if she chooses so. But my point is that, you have to be open and receptive, and you can't just constrain yourself in some ways that you think that reality should be, or who you should be, or anything like that. And it's really important.
It's kind of in a sense, it's the nature versus nurture too, right? If we really have a sense of who we are from where we came from, meaning the human race, right? And we're nurtured in a way that we are told that we can be whoever and however we want to show up in the world. I believe that we can choose to, I call it, meet at the highest common denominator.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be that vibrational place that, upholds what we might call good, for lack of a better way of describing it. So again, these words that we've talked about, compassion and forgiveness and positive intention and receptivity and love and things like that. When we start to separate ourselves and we go, well, you came from this place and I came from that place, and so you're different than me because of this and this, and in my family we do this and we do that, then what we do is we create more, again, density in that vibration, and it creates it's almost like the highest common denominator doesn't exist because you can't see where there is a commonality. You can only see where there's all these differences.
Well, that's the best way to control somebody.
Yeah.
Is you put one group against the other.
Right.
Lord of the Flies.
Right.
So, we're in a world where a lot of people are out there to gain control. You can't gain control by uplifting everyone.
Right.
You can gain
people would be empowered.
Yeah, and working together.
Right.
In synchronicity.
Yes.
No, you gain control by having, the haves and the have-nots, by doing the blue people and the red people.
Right.
By
telling someone they're more important than someone else.
Right.
Because of either their family name or, where they live or whatever. Right. Yeah.
Or, having, somebody be a Republican versus a Democrat.
Right. It's funny. I dated a guy in Tennessee for a short period of time, and when I first met his parents, his dad said to me, "Are you a Republican or a Democrat?" And I said, "I'm Canadian." I'm I'm neither, you
Yeah.
know? And even when I say that, like I really actually consider myself a citizen of the planet, you know? I
Right.
just happen to have been born in a geographical area that's called Canada.
Right.
And, you know, but when I travel, wherever I am is where I'm from, and that's where I integrate, right?
Right.
I feel like our whole conversation is entirely and totally about, you know, I always ask our guests what their take on what the Dalai Lama said, what made this show happen for me. I am the Western woman. What do you feel that he meant by the world will be saved by the Western woman, and how do you feel that is a part of your life?
I think the Western woman is my daughter, and she's going to save the world. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it might be
she
true.
is.
It might be true. But no, I think that what it is that we, the world has always had people that are striving for power. Capitalism is power. It's how do you make the most money out of a product, and how to get the person to get that product. The stock market is based on future valuations that people perceive.
Yeah, they're not even real.
No, they're not real. People perceive, and that actually runs our economy. So I think what the Dalai Lama, in my opinion, was saying is that we need to have the feminine energy come into our world more. We need to have the compassion, the motherhood, the nurturing, the love come into our world more. Not the I'm going to get this group against that group, and so that this group feels, tighter together, and I can use them in a way that I want. But, who cares about the consequences that they hate their fellow human beings?
Right.
So I think that, in my opinion, that's what the Dalai Lama was saying, is that we need to go away from just pure capitalism and pure, what's in it for me. I've had some people that are spiritual leaders, and, talk to them about contracts, and they're like, what's in it for me? And for me, it's an oxymoron. What do you mean, what's in it for you? Aren't you doing well enough already? Aren't you just going to give back because you can? The WIFM. God, first time I heard that, it blew my brain away.
The what?
The WIFM. What's in it for me?
Oh, what's in it for me? Okay. Yeah, because it kind of it throws a wrench in the infinite feedback loop.
No, but that's pure capitalism.
Yeah.
But that's what that is.
Yeah.
It's pure capitalism. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Right? So I think what the Dalai Lama was saying, it's but all this stuff is known. I mean, look at Carnegie Hall. Or Andrew Carnegie, I'm sorry. Did the Carnegie Hall. But Andrew Carnegie, perfect human being. He was for, he wasn't against capitalism. He, totally capitalistic type of person. But he gave back.
Right.
He gave back huge.
There's
he
a
gave
balance.
back huge to uplift people.
Right.
Right? So I think we kind of stepped away from that. We were starting to go that route, but then we stepped away from it.
Right.
And I think what the Dalai Lama is saying, it's time for us to step back into it. With the advent of technology, with the advent of information, the world is getting smaller. Knowledge is, being accessed all over the place.
Right.
That's why, there's places like North Africa that are people that are revolting and all of that, wanting democracy, because they see
What's possible. Yeah.
And they see and they can access knowledge that otherwise they couldn't access, right? And so what the Dalai Lama, I believe, is saying is that, as human beings, our society, well, I can say for America, our society here is more male dominant than female. But as a human being, there's a yin and a yang. There's a male and the female.
And there's a constant seeking of homeostasis, and not just in our physical bodies, but actually in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's out of balance, it's going to be constantly trying to rebalance. And that's just reality. You're right. That's the yin yang.
Yeah. And something that Cheyenne says is, she's a huge advocate for children. She's been like that, since before I met her. And one of the things that she says is that we have to teach our children what's right about them. And it goes for the adults as well.
Absolutely.
So we're so, and what is that? That's the motherly compassion side
Nurturing.
of things. That's the love. That's the upliftment. So in my mind, that's what the Buddha is saying. That we need the Western woman, because the Western woman has a platform where she can actually speak to the world,
like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
With this microphone. Well, thank you so much. I can't believe how fast the time goes by. But if someone would like to watch the movie, get the book,
Yep.
what is the best way for them to get in touch?
Okay, so you can always go to www.discoverthegift.com,
Okay.
Which is great. You can join us on Facebook. You can...
and that's Discover the Gift. They
Yep.
just have to search that,
Yep.
right?
And also, we do have a Global Ambassadors program that we're doing, and there's some weekly calls that are free for people that are in this mindset that want to work on themselves and work on other people. And like I said, it's absolutely free. For that, you can contact either myself. You can go on Facebook to Sharif Aziz, or you can go also to Facebook on to Cheyenne Joy Aziz, and just contact us. Let us know that you want to be part of our global trainers group, and so we're putting some steps together to help people kind of activate themselves and all support each other in the community. So you can do that. And then also, you can pick up the book or the movie at Amazon.com. You can go through our website, like I said, www.discoverthegift.com. And it's Facebook, though. You can go to CheyenneJoyAziz.com or Cheyenne Joy Aziz on Facebook. And, Cheyenne is the author of Discover the Gift. And she also gives a lot to the community, and always has these little nuggets that she puts in.
Beautiful. She is a Western woman.
She is a Western woman.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Amazing information, and I think what you're doing is fantastic, and I hope everybody runs to their computer. It's the easy way, and has the book and the movie come directly to them.
Yes,
just call it out. Call it out in your infinite feedback loop.
Right, and
loop.
so what we say is actually watch the movie first to open your heart, then read the book for the how-tos, then watch the movie again, and you'll see stuff that you'll have not seen in the first place because you're blown open.
Perfect. Movie, book, movie.
Yes,
and in that order.
And then book you can always go back to every time you read it. You'll find something new.
I dog ear and highlight and
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Sharif.
You're so
it's
welcome.
been a pleasure chatting with you and having you here in the studio. And thanks again, Ryan. A little shout out to Cy Kernan and Jan Arden, who are the artists of my theme music, Good in You. And we'll see you and hear you all again very soon. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.